You see, in the beginning, God made the world very good. And you and I do tend to see that word as a moral word. But in reality, it's much bigger than that. It's the clue to the question about air conditioning. Because when you have a look at Adam's world, his world was absolutely perfect. The world that God made was without fault. And if you went down to the local CBD and asked the policeman there what the world's oldest profession was, he would not give you this answer. Do you realise that man was created to work? This is not something we've invented. God actually gave us a job to do, and our first job was as gardening. Now, I really enjoy gardening, and I still remember, even before I became a Christian, I picked up the old Yates Garden Guide. And it had in there, man was designed to live in a garden. Now, do you realise most people who picked up that old copy of the Yates book today would not have a clue what that meant? You see, the Bible says man was put in a garden by God and given a job to tend it. Okay, question. How much money did Adam spend on weed killers? You see, you and I need to see the way God sees the world, past, present and future, if we're going to communicate the gospel to people who live out there in a world that they don't even see these things. Adam was placed in the garden. The oldest profession is gardening, not prostitution. In fact, Adam was also involved in scientific classification. If you're thinking about the intelligence of Adam, because many Christians even view our history this way. Look, we've now landed some rover machines on the moon, haven't we? We've even been to Mars. We're dropping them all over the universe. I learned yesterday that some scientists here in Australia have now proved there is life on Mars using advanced technology and pond scum from one of the golf courses around Brisbane. Did you hear me what I said? I couldn't believe my ears yesterday. They've got such faith in technology, they think that garden pond scum in Queensland has got something to do with Mars. Wonder what's going on. Oh, Adam was involved in science. And you see my little reference at the bottom there about Nature? I was very pleased. And Nature, by the way, is a very prestigious science magazine, the oldest scientific publication on the planet, practically. And they had an article in there on human classification of animals and plants. And they said the oldest and first example of this can be found in the book of Genesis. Wow, that's interesting. You see, because God put Adam in the garden, remember? And he brought the animals to Adam, and whatever name Adam gave them, that was going to be their name. I wonder what he really called that big hairy jumping rat. Do you think he invented the word kangaroo? Well, we've got not much of an idea of some of the words that he would have used, but in reality, do you know what this tells us about Adam? He had more brains than you and I. I mean, think carefully. You go to the Taronga Park Zoo and there are no labels on the cages. Your job is to give each of the animals a name. But you haven't got a pencil or a piece of paper. All you've got is your mind. And you have to start here with the aardvark and move on to the bear, then over to the civet cat, then on to the dingo, then on to the elephant. And by the time you've got up to the zebra, you've forgotten all the other animals, most of us, isn't this true? And that's only if you had 24, 25, or 26. What if 15,864 creatures came in front of you and you had to remember the name of the first one by the time you got to the 26,000th one? Oh, where does this problem show up? Men, when you're sent shopping, does your wife give you a list? Why does she give you a list? Yeah. You see, the reality is you can't remember without that list, can you? And half the time you can't remember with it because you're going, now where did I put that list? Isn't that the truth? You see, the Bible's an interesting book. It's a history of the whole world, not just a history of religion. The devil wants us to see it as just a religious book. But look at my questions.